Well, Janine, a quarter of a century is a long time, especially when it's 25 years of waiting for answers about a loved one's murder. In partnership with the Reopen the Case Foundation, we first brought you Henry Eddie Northington's story in June of 2022. 2 years later, and on the 25th anniversary, there's movement, detectives say, in a positive direction.
At times I think about it and I feel like he was here and he disappeared and nobody knew about him.
Definitely one of the most brutal cases I think Richmond detectives have ever worked.
The body was found about half mile downriver. Somebody had picked up a boulder and just smashed it down on him. He was killed first and then had his head cut off. And somebody carried it a mile all the way up by the railroad tracks up on the footbridge and placed it there. Clearly, I think some kind of message.
Some names did come from the piece that you aired, and we did follow up on that, and we have been to corroborate some of that information to be factual.
And those facts have detectives honing in on Henry Eddie Northington's killer. The Navy veteran was beaten and beheaded 25 years ago. His body found in the river. His severed head on a Belle Isle footbridge. Northington lived in a homeless camp along the James River for years.
The victim was found in water, and that at the time we didn't have the capabilities for testing through private lab and their capabilities. We are going to be able to try to test those clothing items that were wet then now for DNA. We've
generated some suspects in the case, their names. The physical evidence that's been presented, to the lab to be tested. We're waiting for the DNA results to come back before we actually go out and do some of our interviews to see if it connects with any of the individuals of interest.
Northington, known to be gay, his sisters believe that's at least a partial motive for his murder.
I could have never imagined in my lifetime that something would have happened like this to anyone, and it's still hard to believe in after all these years that it happened to Eddie. None of those things. I just hope somebody helped. Somebody knows something. People saw something. I know they're scared. I was scared. That's why I didn't say stuff before, because I have family to protect. But at this point, everybody's, as things go on and years go on and people pass, I don't want to die not knowing or not trying to help find out what happened to my brother.
I'm hopeful. I think these items have never been looked at before, and through that maybe can give us a lead to finally bring closure to the Northington case. Sad to think that there's a family out there that hasn't had closure, so to be able to provide that for a family would mean a lot to all of us.
The evidence with DNA is being tested at a private lab in Florida. The Northington case was also presented to a room of cold case detectives recently in Northern Virginia. And Detective George Wade says the extra eyes were helpful and continue to be an important part of moving this case towards closure. If you have information that can help Detective George Wade, call 833-RTCF-NVA or email info to tips@reopenthecase.org.